Hello, welcome. Dr. Scott Gray here, host of Top Minds, where we bring you the top minds in healthcare, life, and business. Today, we have a special guest, AJ. How do we say that, AJ?
No worries, man. It happened so often in school. I just had to be that guy that had to be standing at the time and really help pronounce it for everyone in class. So I'm used to being embarrassed in public when it comes to my name. It's pronounced Piovesan.
Piovesan. And so, see, I think, as an Italian guy, like you just say it better. So I shouldn't even try it. I should just have you say it every time.
That's why the initials make it easier, man.
That's right. We'll just say AJ. So, well, awesome. Well, today the podcast is brought to you by gmedigital.com. That's Gray Marketing Enterprises, where we completely run your healthcare business marketing to drive more patients to you so you can focus on providing the best healthcare possible. And if you've ever thought, how can I get more patients into my practice? Contact us today. Email us at support@gmedigital.com with any questions, or just go to gmedigital.com to learn more about our events and the services that we do. Like I said, today we've got AJ on with us, and let me tell you a little bit about AJ before we get going here. AJ has 38 years of education and training in health and fitness. He graduated from the University of Washington with a bachelor's in health sciences, and he received a certification as a licensed physician's assistant in 2002. He's been working in the medical field for over 17 years, and he's got surgical and clinical experience working in general, bariatric, orthopedic, spine, gynecology, urology, ENT, and plastics. Now, he's a member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, International Peptide Society, and Clinical Peptide Society. He's also the clinical director of Regenerative Medicine at Seminole Integrative Medicine in North Orlando, Florida, and recently started with Live Well Medical Center between Dr. Phillips and Windermere, also there in Florida. And he believes in facilitating the body's natural ability to heal itself using bioidentical hormones, peptides, stem cells, nutrition, exercise, and supplementation. And we're going to talk about all those things today. So AJ, thank you so much for having us on the show. And let me just ask you, obviously you've got all this experience and all this. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in all this world of nutrition and supplementation and peptides.
Yeah, it's been a long haul, 40 years now that I've been in health and fitness. So your bio was pretty close to accurate there. I started out as a gym rat, in the late 70s, early 80s, and so now I'm starting to show my age a little bit more. But, it was just a lifestyle that I adapted to, that I've been doing. And I thought, corporate medicine was the way to go. Right out of school, I went directly into spine surgery. And I felt like, that was a way that I could make a difference for people. But I soon found out, after about a dozen years, that it just didn't represent who I am as a person and what I believe in. It was a way of being able to help people, kind of like a mechanic where, you bring it in, they pop your hood up and they fix your engine. That's kind of the way I viewed surgery. And, people say, well, that's kind of cold, but ultimately that's the kind of mindset you have to have when you're dealing with human lives. You have to pretty much distance yourself from what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, but really understand how to fix them. But I wanted to do that non-surgically. And so now that's my goal, is to keep people from having to have surgery. If someone breaks their leg and the bone's sticking out, I'm not going to cure it with peptides or supplements. They're going to go to the hospital and they're going to have surgery. But barring that, especially for chronic illness, there's a better way, and that way is regenerative medicine.
Yeah, and so I want to get into, you are one of the most knowledgeable guys I've ever talked to on peptides, and I want to get into that. How did you personally discover peptides? How did you get into this whole thing?
Sure. There's a following that people have, and it's called biohacking. And, some of the main players like that are the Dave Aspreys, who are from Washington State, the Ben Greenfields from Idaho area. And, basically, people from California like Jay Campbell, TO2 Revolution. These are all major players in being able to bring about a different means of a way of life that actually enables the individual to be able to increase their abilities to perform and to enhance, the healing process of the body, as well as being able to give them a better healthful life rather than lifespan. My goal is the quality of life, not quantity. And if I can have both, then that's the ultimate dream. And so I started looking into peptides about 3 years ago. And then I started my personal journey a year ago, actually doing the peptides myself to experience exactly what I could and could not expect from these things that sounded too good to be true. And I had excellent results. And then, of course, through all my educational factors like IPS, International Peptide Society, and as well as A4M, through the educative process, as well as reading journals and books and listening to other players in the field, I put together a protocols that I believe really enhances people's ability to function at a higher level and to overcome a lot of the chronic problems that people are unfortunately suffering from.
So tell me, what are some of the common chronic problems you deal with? And then tell us a little bit about, what are peptides, kind of what they are, how they work, how they help, but also, you and I are both in the world of regenerative medicine where there's a lot of people that are, they claim to have, the silver bullet, right?
Sure.
And we know that these things can do great things, but they're not everything to everyone, right? So let's talk a little bit about what peptides are, but also what they aren't.
Yeah, peptides are really quite simple structures. They're made up of a grouping of or sequencing of amino acids. And we know what amino acids are because people can take amino acid supplements, and every protein is made up of a specific chain of aminos, and that's how we get nutrition in our body. So reasonably speaking, what they're doing is they're reformulating which aminos are linked together in a specific pattern to target parts of the body. So for instance, if you're struggling with repair, let's say you have tendon problems, ligaments, muscle injuries, even bony fractures, or you have a skin wound that you're trying to heal from, there's a particular peptide called BPC 157, which stands for Body Protective Compound 157, and that one targets those body tissues and can actually accelerate healing.
Wow. So that's one, I think that's probably one of the more common ones, right? I've heard BPC 157 quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what kind of issues would someone have? Maybe give me an example of a patient that had a condition that would have used BPC. So if someone's sitting at home and they've got a muscle injury or wound, and what's something they could kind of relate to, like
Sure.
a real world experience?
Yeah, and some of my patient testimonials are quite phenomenal, and just, it's almost too good to believe, but, you can go on Google reviews and actually see what they're writing about these products. And I met a gentleman, he's a 24-year-old male MMA fighter who unfortunately had an accident in the gym and he severed his Achilles tendon. He had to have surgical repair before I knew him. And he was 8 weeks post-op, still in a plantar flexed cast, and did not move his ankle for 8 weeks. Could not weight bear for 8 weeks. And this is a 23-year-old MMA fighter. You might as well just take and cut off his right arm because he was literally incapacitated and depressed when I met him. I was doing orthopedics at the time as a fill-in, and I just suggested to him that I have a better way for him to heal faster and get him back to what he loves. And he said, great. And I gave him BPC 157. And within 2 weeks, he was out of the boot completely and was doing physical therapy. And within 2 more weeks, and this is after 2 months of not even using that ankle, he was running again.
Wow. That's unbelievable. So
and his orthopedic surgeon had no idea and was overwhelmed with what kind of results he achieved after being surgically repaired and 2 months in a plantar flex cast, and how he was able to restore his functional ability within a month was unheard of in the surgical field.
yeah. And so how's that administered? How many times do they have to get treatment like for that situation?
Yeah, a majority of peptides have to be absorbed subcutaneously. It's not always available through the oral route, however, BPC is, but that's mainly for irritable bowel syndrome or other intestinal disorders like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. I actually have another patient who unfortunately couldn't leave the house because she had to have a BM almost every hour because of irritable bowel syndrome. And within 2 weeks of using the product, in that time period, she had 1 episode of IBS. Now she's using it on a daily basis, which is how you use that particular product. And she is able to have full restoration of normal bowel function without the irritable bowel syndromes keeping her housebound. So, you think of that as a quality of life. And then the other example that I used for the surgical repair, he had to use an insulin syringe and inject into the subcutaneous tissue of his abdomen, which is how they administer like HCG or insulin that maybe more people are familiar with as far as injectables. And you inject that every day for 21 days. And that helps to restore that tissue in that time period.
So after that, you that 21 days and it's done. That it
Correct.
does what it needs to do.
Yep. And I actually personally use it. You know, I'm not no spring chicken. I'm 56 and I like to exercise, and I tend to have, you know, these nagging little tendon and ligament problems, especially around my elbows and my knees and things. And so I actually use it prophylactically. So I use it on a daily basis.
Yeah, very good. So what are some of the misconceptions you see? And when I talk about, you know, like what peptides aren't, what are some of the misconceptions out there that you see where people may be misusing peptides or you know, just where there may be some confusion in the marketplace?
Sure. You know, and unfortunately, like any good thing, there's always Klingons. And I don't mean aliens on Star Trek. I use that term because a Klingon is something that basically attaches to something positive, and it doesn't really represent that model. You know, so the supplement industry is rampant with Klingons. You know, you have a good supplement, you have a good line, and then, you know, you can go to any CVS or Walgreens and pick it up for half the price and maybe get one for free. And that may not even contain what's on the label. And so, yes, it's the same name, but it doesn't represent a pure product or a quality product. And people will blame that supplement instead of blaming the cheap knockoff of the product that actually works. So in this case, real-time example are research use only peptides. They are peptides that come from labs that are willing to put on the label, not for human use, for research use only. They sell them online. You basically have to acknowledge before you purchase these products that you know you're not supposed to use them, but you'll pay money for them and you'll use them instead and take that risk. And,
wow.
And to me, that's playing Russian roulette. These are drugs, even though they're amino acids, they are by prescription use only when bought from an FDA-approved pharmacy, which Tailor-Made Compounding is the only peptide compounding pharmacy that is FDA approved for me to prescribe peptides to my patients. And so I see the black market just really bastardizing this product line and making it a cheaper version and piggybacking on the success of actual pure quality peptides.
Got it. So there's a big difference in how these are made and cleanliness, purity of the product, that type of thing.
Correct. And whenever you look at it, you know, I mean, do you seriously want to, you know, you want the Ferrari, but you're driving a Ford, but you want to try and drive the Ford the same way you would a Ferrari. It's just, it's a totally different animal, and your expectations have to be realistic. And is it the product that's the problem? Is it the way you're using it because it's not prescribed? Or is it because that particular product has no way of measuring what you're getting or what's in that vial? And that's a majority of the research use only chemical compounds that are being not prescribed, but people are able to purchase online.
Got it. So you're saying that peptides are really, you're supposed to get them prescription only, but people are buying them without prescriptions online, or do they have to have a prescription?
No. There are places in the United States as well as in Canada that are openly allowing people to purchase these products with the caveat saying, do not use them.
Wow. Okay.
And that's their protection. So if something says don't use it, if it's got a Mr. Yuck sticker on it or biohazard, are you really going to put that in your body? And that's what people are doing. I am a part of chat groups. I try and educate, but I have to be very careful. I'm a medical provider. And when I make a recommendation, my license is on the line. And so I'm always going to go 100% purity level through the compounding pharmacies that will provide a good quality product for my patients, because that's my expectation, that when I prescribe a product, there's no variability in it. It's taken as directed, and people get the results based upon that.
Yeah. That makes sense. I can't imagine just putting some random, product from a lab. That's crazy.
Especially when you're injecting it into your body. These aren't just supplements that may make your stomach upset. These are injectable compounds that affect brains. It affects your circulatory system. It affects your muscles, your nerves. You know, every body part can be targeted with peptides, you know, and that's the wonderful thing about it. There are hundreds of different variations of peptides that help with anything from skin care to hair regrowth to cognitive disorders, you know, Epstein-Barr virus exposures, Lyme disease, you know, you name it,
Wow.
there's peptides that help with that particular disorder.
Mm-hmm. So, hair restoration, for instance, how are they using it there?
It's a combined product, topical, as well as using microdermabrasion to be able to penetrate the scalp. And then it's a zinc thymulin with the GHK copper. And sometimes you can add other things to it, like the BPC can be added to that product, or maybe an AOD 9604. And then also a product called thymosin beta 4. And then, of course, stem cells are incredibly important because that's the base of anything, of any kind of growth in the body. So stem cells are very complementary, and peptides are very complementary to stem cell treatment.
Yeah, great. What would you say, what's the number one reason someone reaches out to you about peptides?
Sure. And of course, you know, because human growth hormone is, you know, definitely available, but very, very difficult to get. And there's a lot of side effects. Growth hormone peptides are the most popular.
Got it. And so what typically are people wanting those for? Is it just
growth hormone is obviously, you know, we're talking anti-aging. Everyone wants to, you know, maybe not be like Sylvester Stallone, but to kind of look like him. As far as muscularity wise, peptides are used for a lot of people in the movie industry to be able to enhance their physical muscle tone, vascularity. Obviously, growth hormone affects every cell in the body in a positive way. But, you know, you have to be careful because sometimes there are cells that it can enhance that you don't want to, and those would be cancer cells. And so someone has to be cancer-free at least 5 years in remission before I'll even assume that they're able to do the growth hormone peptide. But that's the only real negative side effect. Growth hormone peptides are only used at nighttime when the body naturally secretes growth hormone. And this particular grouping that I use the most, called CJC 1295 with ipamorelin, it's a mixture of two types of stimulants that help to stimulate the pituitary to produce more growth hormone, but it is not an actual growth hormone, so that you don't have to worry about the side effects from an actual human growth hormone, which is belly bloat, organ enlargement, visceral fat increase. You know, we've all seen the bodybuilders nowadays. I mean, they're just massive. They're huge.
Right.
But have you noticed that their guts kind of stick out, but they're ripped abs? That's called lipodystrophy. That's actual visceral body fat and organ enlargement caused by human growth hormone. And that's why they get belly bloat. And so human growth hormone will do that, but unfortunately, peptides will not. They actually reduce intra-abdominal body fat, which is the most damaging body fat in the entire body.
Oh, wow. So do people use it for weight loss?
Yes, it can be used as an adjunct to weight loss, as well as being able to enhance muscularity and repair. And then, of course, because growth hormone is secreted at nighttime, it increases melatonin production, which is also a hormone, and gets you into a deeper, more REM sleep. And so I always caution patients that by using these products at nighttime, they may have a little more deeper sleep and may dream more and have more vivid dreams, which, you know, is actually a positive thing because you only get that in stage 4 REM sleep.
Yeah, yeah. So what would you say is the maybe the most surprising or exciting result you've ever had with a patient? Share a story with us.
Well, you know, of course, you know, the patients are so important because they're my success and failures in life, you know, because literally I'm there as someone who is maybe singing off a different hymnal than what they've ever heard before. So when they have successes, I have success. When they have, you know, significant difficulty, then I'm very concerned about those things. And reasonably speaking, peptides have always had only positive effect, which I can't say that about other prescribed medications. And so my joy comes from just being able to use a product that is not toxic, doesn't have many, if any, adverse reactions, and people are generally helping to enhance their body's ability to function better. You know, my personal journey I share with many, many people. I did an in-body scan in January of 2019. And that's a fairly good, accurate measurement tool with a device like that. And I measured 18% body fat, and I weighed about 210 at the time. Exercise on a regular basis, as well as nutrition, and then I also am on supplementation. And ultimately, I started on the growth hormone peptide as the only variable, or the only new product that I was using at the time, for 4 months. Mm-hmm. My in-body scan at 18% body fat after 4 months went down to 5. So I lost 13% body fat in 4 months using growth hormone peptide. And that was my only addition to my normal routine. And at age 55 at the time, it's unheard of to get that kind of fat loss. That's 30 pounds of fat that I lost in 4 months. And I was only at 18% body fat, 210 and 6'2". And then to offset that, I actually gained 8 pounds during that time period. So if you do the math, I lost 30 pounds of fat, but gained 38 pounds of muscle mass in 4 months using growth hormone peptide.
Wow, that's amazing. So what I'm thinking of it this way, you know, when I met you, you were talking about peptides and not being in that world as much. I started to think to myself, you know, why would I need peptides? And so, you know, for someone sitting there that doesn't know anything about peptides, because you probably get this a lot. I know that when I was doing chiropractic, I'd get it a lot where, you know, it's like, you know, oh, I don't need to get adjusted. And, you know that their back is probably tweaked somewhere, and you know it would probably help them. So someone who's doesn't really know much about peptides is sitting there like, I don't need peptides. What would you say to that? And, you know, what are the things where there's opportunities for people to be healthier with peptides, where they could use them?
Sure. You know, and we don't know what we don't know. Okay. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but you know, you don't know how good you feel until you felt bad. You don't know how bad you're feeling until you feel good. Mm. And so, you know, basically people who aren't as maybe efficient, or maybe they have some nagging little injuries that they just accepted as a foregone conclusion, and that they're just muddling through life. I personally do not have any over-the-counter NSAIDs in my house whatsoever at all, and I haven't had for 15 years. So you won't find Tylenol, you won't find ibuprofen, you won't find naproxen sodium, you won't find antihistamines, decongestants, those kind of things, because generally speaking, I don't need those. By using peptides, I eliminate all of the nagging difficulties that the majority of people my age at 56 are dealing with. Chronic joint pain, difficulty getting up out of bed in the morning, chronic back pain. I align myself with chiropractic because you don't know how good you feel until you're back in alignment, you know, until you no longer have those nagging injuries. And it's like, well, you know, my neck has been sore, you know, for 20 years. Who cares? Well, how about if it wasn't sore at all? And so, you know, the key to success is you don't go to your really and do much with your car until it breaks down. But some people are proactive, and they actually get routine maintenance, and they're able to maintain that car for a lot longer lifespan with a better quality, better drivability. Why wouldn't you want that for your own body? And so for me, it's all about representing a space where people want to feel just better. They want to perform better. They want to be more efficient in life. And I think that's where appropriate evaluation and then treatment using things that are naturally occurring in the body, like amino acids, like peptides, are the way of being able to enhance pretty much everyone's life.
Yeah. So what it sounds like is when someone has, you know, whatever nagging thing going on, maybe they have a cough that won't go away, a joint pain that won't go away. It's going to get evaluated and saying, hey, is there a peptide? Is there an amino acid? Basically get evaluated to see if there's some type of help out there for that type of thing.
Yes. And you know, a majority of my patients will contact me by telephone, and they may be saying, you know, I live 2 hours away. Is it worth me driving in? And I just have to tell them, you know, I'm happy to help them as much as I can at a distance, but you know, there's nothing better than hands-on, face-to-face, the ability to really evaluate a patient and then determine how best to serve them. You know, literally, my background is with Nordstrom department stores. Way back in the day, I opened up the store in downtown San Francisco in 1985. And I learned very early on that we are here to serve. This is what my calling is. This is who I am. This is what I do. I just serve people in a medical way that's maybe a little different than their primary care or their cardiologist or their urologist. Even though I've done the surgeries in those specialties, I don't have to do surgeries if I can help people to heal themselves. And then they don't have to rely on the sick care model where they're constantly going and getting another prescription for another drug that has more side effects. And so I really believe in this. I live it. This is just my lifestyle that I share with people. And I have the wonderful opportunity of making people better.
Yeah, I love it. So, so you got started with the company with the ultimate customer service of Nordstrom.
Yes. I actually lived in Seattle. I was born and raised there when they were just a shoe store.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I worked down the street from Starbucks when they were a hole in the wall in the middle of a warehouse district downtown Seattle when I was a supervisor for a meatpacking company. And literally I'd go out onto the loading dock and I swear it smelled like burnt toasted cheese sandwiches. And they were roasting their coffee. So, people who don't like Starbucks say, oh, their stuff is over roasted. It's too dark. It's too bitter. It's, this and that. But, look at the giant they are now. And I see all these companies producing these awesome products that really people appreciate because it was built on a concept. It was built on a customer service concept. And so that's exactly how I treat my practices, whether it's Seminole Integrative or Live Well Medical Center in downtown Dr. Phillips area. This is who I am and what I do. And it's just a way of life. And people go, well, how do you do it? It's just who I am.
Yeah. Well, that's, I love it. It just obviously seems to fit you, but I mean, just imagine if all doctors, all medical professionals came at it with that type of customer support mentality, right? Because
and that's the unfortunate side effect of insurance-based medicine is they don't have the time or the ability to do that. They're required to see 40 patients a day, spend as little time as possible to get that prescription written, and then send them out the door because insurance companies have a strong hold on how much they can bill for that service. And so a majority of insurance pay, patients are looking to be served, but they are not being served. And so that's why the functional movement, the more integrative side where you're combining the patient care opportunity without the volume. And literally I only see like 8 patients a day, 10 maybe at the most, because it's not about volume. It's not about how many I can see. It's about the quality of care that I provide and how I get to know the person, because I treat the whole body. I don't treat symptoms. I do not give a pill for an ill. I actually treat the whole body, the whole person. And I have the labs and diagnostic capability to be able to provide that to my patients. And I really think that they like it. I mean, literally, my patients are like family.
Mm-hmm. So, and thinking about, I'm just kind of thinking about you working with patients and just your day to day. And I just had a question pop up in my head of what's the most challenging case you've ever worked with, the most challenging situation in practice that you've been able to help someone?
Sure. And I think overall, autoimmune conditions are very difficult because they come from so many different angles. Mm-hmm. And reasonably speaking, it's not something that sick care medicine can even address, because sick care wants to try and suppress the body's natural ability to heal itself. And so that's why a lot of these biologics and a lot of these products, the antihistamines, the leukotriene inhibitors, the mast cell stabilizers, the white blood cell suppressants. Is there any reason people are getting sicker on these things? Because you're suppressing what the body naturally does. And so when I take on autoimmune, I have to do it from a multifaceted region where I have to look at how they're metabolizing, what their gut is doing. People don't realize that the gut is the headquarters for serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone for your brain. And is there any reason why people with the digestive disorders are depressed? Of course there is, because their stomach microbiome is so messed up that they're sending toxins throughout their body, as well as creating this inflammatory response and a lack of serotonin to the brain. So, people just don't think, hey, is it in my head or is it in my stomach? And it's like, yes, It's both. And so autoimmune conditions are the most challenging. They take me the most time, but I'm willing to take it on. And I can help people overcome even chronic inflammatory conditions like even arthritis, which RA is a form of autoimmune, as well as thyroid conditions, as well as many others that are harder to target to a single organ system. And so, I do extensive labs to be able to look at that from a multifaceted and multi-organ systems basis. And then we come up with a treatment plan after reviewing those.
How many patients that you see, what percentage have significant issues with gut health?
Well, I think, probably it's closer to 100%, because people see the ads, they see the cable guy saying, hey, don't let that, heartburn get you down. You can be fat like me and jolly and ride a jet ski through a Target and make cool commercials. But ultimately, the acid suppressor that I want you to take is going to destroy your gut, and you're going to be miserable. You don't see that on the ad, but you see all the other side effects that drug has. It's called a proton pump inhibitor. And so I would say a majority of people are self-diagnosing and self-treating because these things are available over the counter, and they're ruining the gut microbiome. We are bacterial beings. Our stomach is made up of trillions, with a T, trillions of cells of bacteria. We are more bacteria than we are human cells. And so ultimately, we need that. Bacteria is not the horrible thing that everyone makes it out to be. I don't use hand sanitizer. I wash my hands with plain soap and water. I use barrier controls, things like that. So reasonably speaking, I don't want to suppress my immune system by ruining my gut and by overusing products that can do a lot of damage.
So do you feel like the over-the-counters obviously can have an effect on the gut, on our bacteria? What are some of the other factors that cause the gut-related issues for people?
Well, of course, you have heartburn symptoms, so you're going to take a histamine blocker for that, an H1 blocker. That's over the counter, ranitidine and famotidine and things. And if you don't have stomach acid, you're not digesting food properly. And if you're not digesting food particles, then you can get things like leaky gut, SIBO, things where you become malnutritionative. And so, I don't even know if that's a word, but, malnutrition is a key. So bottom line is, how do you expect to eat healthfully and not absorb if your gut's destroyed? Yeah. And so nutrition is the basis and the foundation of all of my treatment plans.
Yeah, love it. So you said you don't use hand sanitizer. And I've heard about people saying that, it's not a good thing to use. How would you explain, or why would you explain why you don't use hand sanitizer? What does that do?
Sure. Well, in surgery, we have a saying, the solution to pollution is dilution. So what does that mean? If you can dilute something down, it's no longer toxic, right? Mm-hmm. If I take 1 grain of an acid and put it in 10 gallons of water, there's not enough acid in there to even harm anyone, but because it's diluted down. So reasonably speaking, there is no dilution when you put hand sanitizer on your hands. It literally is alcohol-based and dries with the dead cells on top of your cells. And then eventually the alcohol dries out your hands. What does that do? The skin is a beautiful barrier and it's perfect in its natural state. But what happens if you can penetrate the skin by creating cracks, lesions, cuts, that kind of access? You're now absorbing those toxins into your body through your skin. And so I believe in dilution. So that is wash with water and regular soap, because you don't want to dry out your skin. Skincare is incredibly important because it's the largest organ in the entire body. It's a way that the body detoxes is through sweating. So sweating is naturally a good thing. I live in Florida. We sweat a lot here because of the humidity. It's actually good for you. I do it on a regular basis on purpose to detox and to help my body reset. And of course, I rehydrate with only filtered water.
Yeah. Very good. So, and that's interesting because, I think about nurses. My father-in-law was recently in the hospital, and, going in those rooms, it's like they're using the hand sanitizer on the way in, on the way out. I mean, they probably use hand sanitizer 150, 200 times a day or more. I can't imagine what that what that does to their skin.
Well, of course, and you know, anytime you use an alcohol-based product, what is that doing? It's helping that product to actually penetrate your skin and absorb into your bloodstream. So would you drink hand sanitizer?
Oh no.
But you're getting it through your skin.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's another interesting thing that people, a lot of times they're not thinking about, you know, the lotions, the hand sanitizers and things. And, you know, I always say, well, look, there's you know, there's birth control that's just a patch. You put it on and it stops you from being able to get pregnant. So think about that. You can put something on your skin that affects your body to that level. So anything that goes on your skin that's becoming part of you in many ways.
Yeah, fortunately, there has to be something added to it to actually penetrate deep enough to get into the bloodstream. But you're right. I mean, you're breaking down something that was perfect. That is a wonderful barrier that needs to be respected and taken care of. So for my patients, I help them with skincare. I help them to not use products that are full of chemicals. You know, it's so funny. We're a quick fix kind of society where if it comes in a bag or a box, it's just more convenient for me to consume it. But everything is being manufactured to the point where there's a higher burden on our bodies to break down the chemical base that makes that product portable. And so generally speaking, I actually teach my patients to go without. And that's a whole different animal, you know, and you probably don't want to go there due to the length of this program. You know, I could talk for about 6 hours and still not be able to cover enough of the topics to really help people to feel completely 100% confident. But, you know, the goal of anything is don't introduce something into your body, whether you orally ingest it, put it on your skin, inject it, or however means you're going to get it into your body, unless you know for a fact that your body can actually use it as a form of nutrition or support. And so, you know, I teach people to avoid the entire grocery store except for the produce department and then their protein, you know, which is meat, chicken, fish, pork, turkey, tuna. And I'm not a anti-vegan or vegetarian. I work with people with alternative diets all the time. And I'm able to give them a healthful way to be able to maintain the nutrition that their body needs. And, you know, that's the goal. Put things in your body that support it. Stop putting things in it that break it down. You know, am I a total, you know, anti this and everything and not consume alcohol ever or not eat certain food products? Not all the time. You know, if I go to somebody's house and they're serving something, I'm going to eat it. I don't care how it's made. I don't care, you know, what product they started with or whether or not that beef was grass-fed and pasture-raised. But you can bet if you come to my house, it will be. You can bet that all of my produce products are organic. They're not sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and they're actually hopefully locally grown. Because I support people who want to provide a good quality product to people, whether it's nutrition, medical services, or pretty much any service that enables people to have a more efficient and more functional lifestyle.
Yeah, I love it. Now, so yeah, I was vegan for 6 months at one point in my life. I was vegetarian for about 1.5 years, and I always found it difficult to get the proper nutrition. It was always a battle going to the store, and then I found myself buying things that it's like they're vegetarian, but they're supposed to taste like meat. You know, and it's like doing all these different fillers, and I'm sure that's a challenge.
And I agree with that. You know, I mean, we all want to support an industry that we feel good about or that we believe provides what our body needs. And I think if you listen to your body and you really participate in the thought process before you put something in your mouth, it makes it a lot easier. So regardless of what your mind is telling you, your body is also telling you, you know, what your body needs. And so realistically, you know, even though I'm a carnivore, even though I eat animal products, I actually support PETA because I think animals need to be managed in an ethical and responsible way, just like any other individual in life has to be respected for what they are and what they stand for. And so, I contribute my time and effort to a local farm that provides pasture-raised, grass-fed, very happy animals until I get hungry. And then, they provide a basis of nutrition for me and my family and people that can benefit from it, that is nutritionally sound and doesn't contain the toxins and the hormones and the antibiotics and things that feedlot animals are subjected to. So I absolutely don't support the use of antibiotics and hormones in feedlot type of scenarios, or huge factory farms of chickens that are basically can barely stand, let alone move around, and we're eating the meat from those animals that are subjected to that amount of stress. And when you talk about hormones, you cannot not talk about cortisol. You cannot not talk about how just damaging cortisol is for the body if it's internally too high, especially when you're trying to sleep at night, or the stress that it causes all day long. Cortisol is a wonderful hormone. It gets us out of bed in the morning, but beyond that, it needs to decrease as we go about our day. And unfortunately, some people's cortisol levels are so high, they develop autoimmune conditions from that, or adrenal dysfunction from that. And so it's another class of people that I try and help. But the stress to the animals, and we're eating that stress when we eat that animal product, if we buy products that are made that way. And I say made because they're literally manufactured, because those animals don't move. They don't get a chance to have a healthy life. They're essentially, they eat and defecate, and that's it. And that's where E. coli came from. The microorganisms in the bowel, from what the animals were fed. And it was a monoclonal society, which means that they all had the same bacteria in such a way that it created E. coli. And we all know what that's like. The Jack in the Box kind of set that stage back in the 80s. So, or 70s actually. So, we can damage ourselves eating products that are irresponsibly raised is my point. And so I believe in treating life as very important regardless of what that life is. And I have respect for that, and I have respect for people who are vegan or vegetarian as much as I do for carnivores. And I don't subscribe to a particular diet myself personally, because for me, less is better. So I only consume food once a day. And I can go up to 7 days without any consumption and have a completely normal function, because I've taught my body to become fat adapted. So I can actually survive with less. And that's just me. I'm not asking my patients to do that, but it's another way of being able to go without because of the alternative. When I'm in clinic, my staff don't always appreciate everything I do because I work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. without a break. I don't take lunch. I don't eat breakfast, and I eat my one meal after I get home at night. And so I have staff members who can't go to lunch with others because they have to stay back with me because the rest of the clinic shuts down. But I'm there for my patients. I'm there to be efficient and effective. I drink water all day. It's filtered. And that's my consumption. But it makes me more efficient and more effective to help people. Do I want all my patients to do that? Absolutely not. But I can teach anyone to do this.
So why did you make the decision to get to where you're eating once a day, and how long did it take you to get there? How long did it take your body to adapt?
Well, I come from a surgical background. Nobody standing next to that patient is taking a break except the scrub tech and the anesthesiologist, because they can come and go because they have people breaking them out. You can't break out the surgical team. And so I'm used to going long hours without having to use the restroom. I'm used to going long hours without any food consumption. But then I eat a higher than normal fat content in my diet with very little carbs and moderate protein. And some people go, oh, hey, I know that one. That's keto. Well, yes and no. But I also do what is called intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. Oh, that's keto. Well, sort of. But you don't eat much protein, so that's keto. Well, no, not really. But I do, I'm 210, 6'2", and have about 180 pounds of muscle mass. And so realistically, most people who are this body habitus will eat high protein. I believe in the work done by Dr. Walter Longo at USC. He is the ultimate authority in protein and fasting. And ultimately, his research shows that excessive protein adds to premature aging because of the oxidative stress it causes, as well as cellular debris. And so reasonably speaking, I'm in it for the long haul. And so I only have to eat less than 100 grams of protein, which is only a half a gram per pound as compared to what a majority of people eat. So I'm eating less food, less often, and feeling better because I'm burning body fat or ketones, while other people are burning sugar, which requires another hormone called insulin. I can fast for 7 days on water only without any caloric intake whatsoever and not have a low blood sugar.
Wow. Now, do you do you have to restrain sometimes? Do you get hungry throughout the day and have to mentally fight that?
Do I have cheat days is what you're asking. And yes, I do.
So, okay.
So for instance, at your seminar, I did not eat the first day of the seminar at all. Nothing. No consumption, only water. But the second day, I ate breakfast there. I ate lunch. It was a very good meal at the Disney Yacht Club.
Those tacos, yeah.
Those the fajitas, you know, I'm sorry. I love Mexican.
Yeah.
And both the people and the food. And so, you know, to me, that was awesome. So there was no way I was not going to eat, especially guacamole. And so, you know, people were like going, dude, when was the last time you ate? You know, it's like piled up high. And so I ate 6,000 calories that day.
Wow. So do you track your calories every day?
No. It's easy to track if you don't eat.
Yeah, it's zero caloric intake.
Exactly. So there's nothing to count. But, you know, once again, that's me. That's who I am, and that's my body. And so I think if people want to try these things, I can help them to do it in a way that's safe and effective. If they don't want to do it and they want results in a different way, I can help them with that too. You know, over 40 years of health and wellness, you know, being a personal trainer, a health coach and things has taught me a lot of different life lessons, you know, and unfortunately it doesn't come from certifications. It doesn't come from corporate medicine. It comes from a lot of get down, get dirty, you know, read the books, spend the time, vet the stuff. Don't believe in that first theory. Believe in it when you've had 2 or 3 other sources that are also reputable that have the same outcome. And so I believe in science. I believe in also what people's experiences are, just as much as I do research studies. And so, you know, just because something doesn't have a research study doesn't make it not true. It just means that there's nobody spending that amount of money to be able to pay for that research. And the majority of money that is paying for that research, unfortunately, it comes from drug companies. And so that's the downside of a lot of the products that I use. There's not a lot of double-blind studies that are long-term that show the efficacy of the products that I prescribe. But does that make them any less important? Does it make it any less beneficial? Does it make it more dangerous? I don't think so. But I believe in real results. And so I personally use a lot of the products that I prescribe. And I am not perfect, but I think I'm in tune enough with my body. So if I make even subtle changes, I'm going to notice a difference because I go without. I'm not always asking my body to digest. I'm not asking it to always overcome obstacles. But I put myself in those positions to make it stronger and more efficient and effective because, you know, we were born perfect. We just mess it up the older we get.
That we do. So what would you say to someone that's listening and they're thinking, you know, I do want to have a better life. I want to feel better. I want to live longer. I'm in this and I do want to improve. I know I need to change, that type of thing. What would be like some action steps someone could take? Like what would be the first steps for someone, you know, taking that step forward to change their life and lifestyle?
You know, it's education. You know, first and foremost, do the research, do your homework, find a reputable source, Find somebody who you believe in, and there's a ton of information online, not always good, not always bad. You just have to do your homework. The second thing is clear the clutter. I have a garbage can. It's, your normal size garbage can in my kitchen. I empty that garbage can about once every week and a half to 2 weeks. And it's not that big because I don't buy packaged products. I don't buy what I call Frankenfoods, where they've been manufactured to taste, look, or smell like actually real food. I don't buy products that come in bags and boxes. And so ultimately, maybe some of them do, like my organic lettuce greens come in a package, but that plastic I just throw in the recycling bin. But the key to success is eat clean, get rid of the clutter, stop buying the damaging foods that are creating symptoms that long-term are going to cause major harm. Eat clean produce, vegetables, and some form of protein. And you're going to really eliminate a huge part of why people don't feel well. Just that one thing. And it doesn't have to be magic. It doesn't have to happen overnight. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So take that responsibility of what you're putting in your mouth first and foremost. And then the second thing is, if you're over 40 or you've been surgically altered hormonally, like a woman having a hysterectomy or oophorectomy or something like that, get your hormones checked, because hormonal balance is who we are. And so hormonal balance is critical once you've eliminated the processed foods, because we can be chronically inflamed due to what we're ingesting or what our body no longer is producing. And as we get older, our hormones decline. It was originally intended to make it so that we couldn't procreate past a certain age, because we wouldn't live long enough to raise our children and our grandchildren if we procreated too late in life. Nowadays, that's different. I'm 56 and I don't believe I'm at midlife. I believe I have a lifespan, or I should say a health span, more importantly, of 120. And so if I have another 60 plus years to live, then treat your body accordingly. Treat it like you would something that you want to possess for a very, very long time. Because the sicker you are, the more difficult you have being efficient and effective to help others. And I believe that our calling in life is to help everyone around us. We are given that gift to be able to provide. And if we stop doing that, I don't believe that we're going to really make an impact or to be as effective in life. Yes, things happen to good people, but it happens to give us the ability to overcome something. We don't know what joy is unless we know what sadness is. We don't know what pain is unless we know what it feels like to not have pain. And so generally life happens, but at least try and take control of the decision making and your effectiveness to help others on a daily basis. And as long as during your seminar, you talked a lot about gratitude. And I truly believe that we lack that in life. We tend to focus more on the difficulties that we have rather than the positive nature that we can put forward to help others succeed. And if I can do nothing else in life, I want at least to be known for I help someone.
I love it, man. So it all comes back to that full circle of the customer service, serving people, helping people. I can tell it's what you're all about. So, if you're listening to this and you want to, take an action step, you want to start to change your life, look at how do I eat clean, right? How do I stay in the produce sections, the proteins, educate yourself, clear the clutter. And I'm sure that, if, AJ is a wealth of knowledge, he's read the books, he is the education. So, if you don't know where to start, I would say reach out to AJ if you can. And where can people go to learn more about you, and how can they contact you, AJ?
I have 2 clinics, but one is just in the infancy. And so until I get that to the point where I know that the customer service, that VIP treatment that I require for all my patients to have, I'll reserve that one. That one is called Live Well Medical Center. That's the one in Dr. Phillips. But my other clinic that is a flagship that is going to be represented in any clinic that I'm a part of is called Seminole Integrative Medicine, or the initials S as in Sam, IM. And our website is seminoleintegrative.com. My email address, if you want to contact me directly, is aj@seminoleintegrative.com. I do telemedicine for people in the state of Florida or people who are snowbirds who spend time in Florida. And they can see me in my clinic or contact me for a telephone consult at 407-831-4357, or through our website or through my email address. And so we are located in Castleberry, Florida, which is just north of Orlando, about 20 minutes.
Very good. Thank you so much, AJ. I have learned a ton. I've taken a ton of notes here just on peptides and nutrition. And, you know, I've studied this stuff for years as well. And I learned a lot of great information today. So if you're interested in, you know, finding out more about peptides, nutrition, how you can get your health to the next level, contact AJ, go to seminoleintegrative.com or call 407-831-4357. AJ, thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Scott, it's been my pleasure, and you just let me know. I'd love to do it again anytime.
Great. Thanks, AJ.